watching Ladies in the Locker Room.
Hey, what's going
Hi,
on?
not much. How are you?
I am fantabulous.
It's great.
My
Um,
word, fantabulous.
Fantabulous. I like that word.
All right, all right. Uh, How was your week?
It's going good so far. Especially since the Olympics started. Been watching a lot of that and just kind of soaking in all the sports that are happening right now since we didn't have as many last year. So it's great to have sports on all the time, especially with
It
the
is.
Olympics.
Now, are you up in the middle of the night watching the Olympics?
I stayed up pretty late last night,
Because of
but
the
they
time
replay them in
zone.
the morning. Yeah, time zone. They play them again in the morning. But I have my Olympic shirt on, Olympics U.S.
Yay!
surf team. So yeah, we're pretty big Olympics like buffs around here. So we're
All
staying up pretty
right.
late.
Wow. Believe it or not, I haven't had a chance to really dive in. I just kind of jumped in here and there, saw a little bit. So I'm still checking. Of course, I want to see the track and field. Of
Oh
course,
yeah,
I want to see the dream team this year, whatever that's going to look like.
yeah.
So there's some different ones that I'd like to see. Now, I watched something last weekend that I don't know if it's a part of the Olympics or they just do their own thing, but I watched the skateboard world
Oh,
champion.
last night they had skateboarding too. So
Yeah. And this little girl, she's like 13, between 13 and 15 years old. She was the winner for the women, and she was pretty awesome. And just watching them, it was pretty awesome. I
oh,
remember
there's
growing up, we had a skateboard,
me too.
and I remember just kind of doing it. But to watch the magnitude of how these kids are doing it, that's a
hmm
whole other
Oh
situation.
my gosh. Last night, one of the athletes just had like he wasn't going to make it in the top three. So he decided just to do like a little trick down the ramp just for fun, like an easy trick. So he didn't hurt himself and all that stuff because he was already injured. And the commentator was like, this looked easy and this was an easy trick for him, but you start now, you still won't be able to do his like easiest trick in 9 years. So you're like, yeah, guys are pretty good, and the camera angles are so insane nowadays. You can see every little movement and they play it back and you get all these different angles and you can you can see it in exactly what they're doing now, and it's crazy because before you would see it would go so fast you're just like, what was that they just did?
You kind of
um,
miss it.
Now it's insane. You can see it in slow motion and you're just like, wow,
Well, I
these
know they
guys
got
are
a lot of those
incredible.
GoPro cameras and
Oh yeah.
uh 4K and all these different presentations that are going on. I'm trying to get my other mic because I may use it. I have a little echo going on, and I don't know if it's I don't know what it is. So I'll try something different in a second here. Uh, but yeah, just watching all of that all the time, and like you say, the speed and the camera. I'm a cinematographer as well as a
Mhm.
director, so just being able to keep up with that speed is something else. I'm just amazed at
Yeah.
how that works. And like you say, and these cameras capture it now, and they can slow it down so you can really see. Like even at the finish line when you have the two racers, and the camera can slow it down to see if there's just a smidget of a
Mhm.
you know, inch,
Exactly.
from the winner. So, as a cinematographer, that's something I'm always interested in, and I love to see, like you said, how they capture a
Yeah.
lot. And of course, they've got drones galore nowadays.
Oh, for sure. Like
Pretty,
all the different things. Yes. I worked with a guy, he was the assistant director when I was working with Dr. Phil show, and he does every Olympics. And
wow.
just he kind of shows you back like behind the scenes and that type of stuff and the camera angles as well. So it's kind of cool to follow him on social media too. So you can see a little bit more into what goes into it all. But you're right. It's crazy
Pretty
these days.
amazing. Pretty
It is
amazing.
amazing. You kind of even have more, I don't know, respect for these athletes, even if that was even possible. But
Right.
just to see it in like slow motion and exactly what they're doing. So all those people at home are like, hey, I could do that. Like, no, no, you can't.
No,
Like,
you can't.
no. But
Well,
yeah, so a lot to talk about today about Olympics, and I know you're going to talk about the NBA finals, and I think we
yep,
have a
yep,
little bit NFL as well. So yeah, I'm
yep.
excited.
So, what else is going on in your world, though?
Um, in my world, just kind of like we were talking about last week, getting back into things, starting in person. I've an improv team that I'm doing now in person as well as online. I'm still doing the online show because during the pandemic, we kind of got our team together and it was from all over the United States. So,
That makes it pretty cool.
so we have like really good talent that we're never going to be able to get together in person. But without the pandemic, we would have never come
Come
together.
together like
So,
that.
so I'm excited to keep that as well as start in person as well, and more, acting, that type of stuff, in person, but keeping some of the old stuff as well, kind of like this.
Right. Well, speaking on the in person, I'm still really baffled about how some people are just not getting vaccinated, and uh, saying stuff like, "Well, I'm waiting to see what's going to happen." Are you waiting to see if you're going to get COVID? And if you get it, are you going to die? Because then if you don't die, then maybe you feel like you didn't need the vaccination. But if you do die, then oh, maybe I should have got the vaccine. I mean, what are you waiting for?
Yeah,
It just amazes me when I talk to people and they are like, "Oh no, I didn't get it yet. I'm gonna wait. I'm waiting." And I'm like, "Well, what are you waiting for?"
exactly. Like there was a nurse that wrote this article that kind of was trending last week, and she was, or not a nurse, a doctor, and she was talking about treating patients now and how half of her wants to be like, you could have gotten a vaccine that would have prevented this, but the other half of her, she's a
Just
doctor
has to
and
be the
she's,
doctor, yeah.
you talk to them, and she said like one of the last things that they ask her before they're like they get like intubated, is like, can I get the vaccine? And she has to tell them it's too late. And like that just gave me chills. It still gives me chills like talking about it, because these people who are getting sick and dying from the coronavirus still now, are begging for the vaccine that they could have gotten. They could have
Yeah,
gotten it by now.
yeah,
So, and like I was going to talk a little bit about the NFL and their protocols coming up. And I think where a lot of sports are going is like hitting them where, like in the like when you're taking money away from them, when there is a
hitting them in
penalty.
the pockets,
Yeah, when hitting them in the like,
hitting
that's
them
the
in the
way that
pockets.
they're going to get them, like to not, or to be vaccinated. And it's kind of sad that we have to do that, because there's other countries that really really want, people around the world that really want this vaccine, and
And they can't
it's
get
not
it.
as, yeah, they can't get it, it's not as easy to get.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very sad. But hopefully some of these things that are coming up will help people make a better
I hope
decision.
so. I hope so. I watched the interview as well. They were showing like a city. They were having like a city wide, like almost picnic. Like, hey, welcome back to the city. Let's open the city up. And I'm trying to remember exactly where it was. I think it may have been somewhere in Mississippi. I'm not positive though. But at any rate, at this little fair, let's just say a little city or county fair, they had a COVID vaccination site set up right at the fair. And the guy that was telling the story that I was watching, he was like, "Okay, so they've been open now 30 minutes, and no one has bothered to walk up and ask for this free shot, and they're sitting right over there." And he was like, and the city that he was in was one of the lowest vaccinated cities. So he was like, man, so that of course, maybe 30 minutes in, one lady finally walks over and gets it. And then about 15 minutes after that, one guy, and like you're saying, there are people in other countries that are dying and afraid of dying and really wish they could get a vaccination. And
Mhm.
then we have people in our country who don't want a vaccination or and I can't even think of what their mindset is and how their what their thought process is, because we know that COVID is still here, and then we've got this new blue variant or whatever, and so it's just going to be a situation where how long do you want this thing to last? Because it's going to go on and on until we can kind of put a squeeze on it by getting many or most people vaccinated. And I was
Exactly.
telling you when I went to Tennessee the other week to the golf tournament and fundraiser for WAB Sports. Walking in the city, I went in a restaurant, went in a store, and nobody had on a mask at all. I looked like the alien walking around with a mask,
Yeah.
because I still wear my mask, even
Yeah.
though I'm fully vaccinated and all that. I still wear my mask, especially being in a different place than where I live. I just thought,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
y'all. I need my
Yeah.
mask.
Exactly. It is. It's like you don't know these days because people are everything's opening up and people are not wearing masks. But I'm fully vaccinated, and there's just so much I think vaccine misinformation out there, and people are taking their advice from the wrong people. Like I can't tell everyone that it's like the what they should do, but they should talk to their doctors. They should get more information, like, and not just what they see on social media, because that is not the right information. You don't it's not what you should be basing your life or like trusting your life on what you see on social media with anything. Like, not at all. Social media is not the place where you should kind of get this, I don't know,
Get all your
life and death
information.
information. Yeah.
Get all your
Especially,
information. Your life lessons and everything. But
yeah.
kids do. That's exactly where they get it from.
Yeah.
Wow.
And younger people are getting it now because this Delta variant. And my friend's family just lives over there. Their entire family got hit with COVID. And you're just like, why are you guys not, why aren't they doing that? Like, they could have, there's like, this is, I don't know, it's crazy and how quickly it's spreading now. It's just,
It's spreading pretty quickly. I was watching the news, and there was a woman. Again, of course I don't know her name, but basically what happened is she was fully vaccinated, but she was the only person in her house who got vaccinated. So her teenage son, who partied a lot, went out a lot, was all out and about, caught COVID and gave it to her. Even though she was fully vaccinated, she still got COVID. But like what she said was it wasn't a severe case like she could have had she not been vaccinated. Now his case was not as severe either because he's younger and all of that. But he brought it home to his family because he's a young person that didn't want to get vaccinated but is out in the world. And I believe that that's going to be one of the deciding factors in a lot of households. A lot of young people are not staying in the house. They're not staying COVID safe. They're out and about and they're doing things and they're going places. And what's going to happen is the same thing. They're going to bring it back into the home to their
mhm,
families and younger children and grandparents and all of that again.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So yeah, like I was saying, like we'll talk a little bit about the NFL and their protocols, and also some Olympians I was going to mention are tested positive and can't go now, and it's just so that's
Uh,
very very unfortunate, very
very,
sad. Like you
very.
wait your whole life to go to the Olympics and you can't go.
You
So
can't go. All right. All right. Well, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
Run hard. Can't spin it. Keep it going.
Five, four, three, two, one. Uppercuts, uppercuts, uppercuts. Go, 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 go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Ah. Cross, hook, cross. Last 10 seconds. Come on, jab cross, jab cross, jab cross. Go fast, Lyric. Go fast, Lyric. Come on. Bring it to me, Lyric. Come on. Time.
every time I see that that commercial, not only am I just jamming, but just watching and watching the exercises and watching the boxing and watching the little girl, the little lyric. It's just really exciting, and I just love it. Like I said, I just like, okay, I can see how that's working. I can see
Exactly,
that
right?
the whole
Get that
process and how
pumped
it's going to
up.
work.
Exactly. Gives you some energy just watching it for sure.
Right, right. So if it's not for the music and I'm just jamming to the music, I'm like, yeah, oh,
Yeah, get
oh.
in there.
I was like, oh, I could feel that in my arm. I could see how
I
that thing
know.
is working. Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Get those guns.
So I got look.
See, you do. You got them
But
already.
I gotta work on them. I used to have bigger guns. Now I gotta work on them again.
Right
I
there.
got let's just say I got padding around my guns.
It looks like you have some big guns though.
I
mean,
had some. I'm working on them. I'm working on getting them
getting
back.
back there.
Working on
Getting back.
getting them
Me
back.
too. Me too.
Working on getting them
Me
back.
too.
All right. So let's get ready for our sports quickies.
Sounds good. Is anyone up for a quickie? A sports quickie. So much fun doing that when I was with you guys. But my first story for my sports quickie, we kind of mentioned it before. It's the NFL and their new rules. I have a short clip from NFL Network, Mike Garafolo, and I'm going to play that if I can. Does that work?
Will not be a 19th week. So if you get outside of that week and hey, we couldn't make it work and we couldn't reschedule it, that game is forfeit. The team that had the issue, they lost. The other team, they win. It counts towards the playoffs. All that. That is the long and short of this memo.
Well, we can't hear him.
Let's say you take that game back to Monday or Tuesday, and then the other team's got a short turnaround or whatnot. So these are all the factors that'll be factored in, just like they were last year as they're trying to figure this thing out on the fly. But they are letting teams, players, executives, everybody know today that we are not planning to add a week to the season to accommodate for the games that won't be able to be played rescheduled within the same week.
Did that?
Was that it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow. So that's something
Okay,
else.
so-
Tell us a little bit more about that with the NFL.
So, like we were kind of talking about the NFL going to hit their the players basically in the wallet. So, what's happening at the NFL is they have all these new rules coming out that if a player has a so if there's an outbreak and they're only going to do their 18 week schedule. So if a team is has an outbreak, then that means that team, if they can't reschedule it within that 18 week schedule, they're not going to add a 19th week. If they can't do that and it is caused by unvaccinated players, so that's a big part of it. So if an unvaccinated players causes an outbreak and they cannot reschedule it like for a Tuesday or something, the team will forfeit the game and it will cause like issues for both teams involved. So both teams will suffer consequences basically because of this. And what they're kind of doing is they're doing this to get their players vaccinated. And it's kind of come on the tails of reports that are coming out that teams aren't fully vaccinated, that there are a bunch of teams that are still less than 50%, or some teams less than 50%. The Chargers weren't very, last time I checked, weren't at the top of that list with vaccinations either. So that's an issue for our team. And they're doing this because of, I think they said the Colts and the Washington football team reportedly have two of the lowest rates. So they're with under 50%. So basically their new rule is if unvaccinated players cause an outbreak, you can't reschedule the game, your team forfeits not only the game, but everybody's salary for that game. So you know how all the players make a certain amount each game?
Per game.
Every player on your team and the other team will not get paid. Period.
Wow. Well, see, okay, let's talk about that for a minute. Now, I can understand if the team who causes the outbreak, who causes the game to not be played, I can understand them not getting paid. But I agree with them to forfeit the game to the other team. But why should the other team lose money as well? If they were there, they were willing to play, and they weren't affected. Now, I like what the NFL is doing, is making them accountable. It's making the teams accountable for their players and their players' actions. So it's like, okay, you don't want to get vaccinated, which means that you could catch COVID and you could pass it on to other people. So you're putting a lot of people in jeopardy. So I like what they're doing. They're making the teams and the players accountable. I agree with that. But if I'm a team and my players are there, we all good. Ain't nobody got no COVID. We ready to play. And the other team can't play. You ain't taking my money. I didn't do nothing wrong. So I'm hoping that that's not the case.
I think they're making it like an NFL, like wide kind of accountability. So I think the team will forfeit who is the responsible for the outbreak, but the game's not being played at all. So they're not getting their paycheck
salary. So now let me ask you this. So if the only way they don't play, it's not just about one player, because one player send them into COVID, go back to the hotel, don't travel, whatever. So if there's an outbreak and there's a few players that can't play, is this when they're saying they're going to forfeit the game? I mean, how does that forfeiture work?
It's an outbreak with unvaccinated players. So if there's an outbreak on the team, it doesn't matter like if they can play or not. If there's an outbreak with unvaccinated players, the game's forfeited. Okay. If you can't reschedule it within the 18 weeks. So they can reschedule if it works out.
For both teams, they can figure it out during the week or something.
Yeah. So, but if not, the game's completely scrapped, but the team who's responsible will forfeit, and then it will mess up, their playoffs and everything like that as well. Okay. But, and they're pretty much holding everybody's feet to the fire at this point. It sounds like to me. So if that, like I said, the team can't, and it's unvaccinated. So there are breakthrough infections. So if they can prove that they were vaccinated, I'm thinking that that's something different. This just came out not a couple of days ago. So, but it was specifically clear that unvaccinated players who caused the outbreak.
Okay.
So,
all right, we'll see what happens. And speaking of the NFL, of course, the end of this month, training camp starts around the country for all the teams around the league, and they'll be headed to training camp, and that'll be the beginning of the whole COVID situation. Because again, you're going to have players that are coming that have not been vaccinated, and players that are coming that have been vaccinated that now have to deal with these unvaccinated players. I want to see how many training camps are going to start to be affected because of non-vaccinated players and COVID.
Yeah, I'm sure. I hope not too many. I'm hoping that the NFL can. This really is a big push to get everybody vaccinated, but we'll see. And also, if things start spreading, especially around here, like LA just went back to mask mandates. Orange County is still, I mean, we usually follow LA, so maybe in a few weeks, hopefully not. But my point being that I think if they're trying to keep their players safe, it would affect minicamp as well. So it's I mean, you're not going to want unvaccinated people around your players if you're trying to, especially with these new rules coming out that are so severe that your players are gonna, lose out. They're not gonna want a lot of people there watching minicamp.
Right.
So it's we'll see. I mean, like we kind of already go back to is hopefully this is a wake-up call for not just people's bank accounts, but their lives. I hope that we can get this back under control. So the things that we like doing that are starting to happen because our infection rates went down, that people enjoy doing, like going places without masks or having to sit down at a restaurant, like those little things. If you like doing them, hopefully we can continue to work together towards a common goal, which is getting vaccinated and stopping the spread of this new Delta virus or variant. So we'll see. On that note, I was going to talk about just a really quick that two, I don't know, for COVID. So two golfers, men golf, number one golfer in the world from Spain, John Ram, and our number 6 from United States, Bryson DeChambeau, are both missing the Olympics after testing positive for coronavirus. Ram withdrew from the games after testing positive for COVID-19 for the second time in 2 months. And DeChambeau, who's one of our best players, tested positive for COVID-19 just prior to departing to Tokyo on Saturday night. DeChambeau is going to be replaced, but Ram is not going to be. So that's kind of sad. DeChambeau is young, a really great player, and I wish he was still going to compete for the United States, but he is out for now, or he's out, period. So,
well, speaking of that, I know this week, in following the updates on the Olympics were almost canceled. I think everyone was holding their breath all the way up till the last minute, the day before, because at one time, throughout the time that the preparation for the Olympics and all the players coming into the city and everything, I think at one time they had like 78 cases of different players and coaches and people. And so they was at one point thinking, you know what, this might not even happen. We might have to just shut it down because 78 cases is a lot for a community of athletes all coming together to compete and living in the Olympic Village. And
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, with the Olympic Village this year, it's kind of the rules are different. So you can only come in a few days before you compete, and after you're done, you have to leave right away. So there's no hanging out in the village. Like people get to have fun. Like if you watch the opening ceremonies, it was only like 100 or so like athletes in the United States, which we have a lot more. And so that's how they're trying to keep the numbers down. But so it kind of stinks for the athletes this year. There's no hanging out, getting to know the athletes before and after, especially after, because they don't want to risk people going out and coming back to the village. And
Yeah.
So you're right.
You know, the history of it. The other thing is that they used to pass out packets of condoms and contraceptive and all that because there was quite a bit of hooking up
Sure.
in the Olympic Village. So this time, you know, they were passing out condoms, but what were they passing out to help with the COVID, to keep from sharing that? Obviously not enough if all of a sudden they had 70 something cases. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'll be
They
talking about some more Olympic stuff later on myself,
Mhm.
but I just wanted to mention that at when all the way up to the day before the opening ceremonies, it was noted that there would be a possibility that it may get shut down. And I think what they were looking at is the direction that the number of COVID cases was it still rising or was it going down. So
Yeah.
already bad enough, no fans are able to come, so that's already been cut out. There was another player, and I can't even remember her name. She was deaf and blind.
Oh.
The Olympic Committee attempted to tell her that her handlers couldn't come with her. So I'm like, well, if you're deaf and you're blind, how's she going to get around? How who's going to speak for her? And someone else is always her eyes and ears, which are these two other people. But and I may have to find it and bring it back to you. But I saw that story. I'm like, there has to be at some point where there is an exception.
Yeah. I mean, they have a little bit of people. They have their coaches and they have like immediate family. If it's not if they are like part of their like coaching staff, it's not like family can't really aren't there. So but
this was her entourage, but there was needed entourage.
Yeah.
They actually worked for her. They were, like I said, her voice and her eyes.
Yeah, that's strange. Hopefully she was still like they didn't allow, or do we know yet?
Well, at last, when I heard the story, they weren't allowing it. Of course, they were attempting to, still protest it or get into contact with the Olympic Committee to try to, because her handlers were not her immediate family. They were people who worked with her. So that was why it didn't fall into place of the immediate family. And her handlers were not her coaches. So that didn't follow it, So they were being such sticklers about that. But at the same time, she can't speak or see for herself. Someone is doing that for her. So she really needed it. So I hope it got all worked out. I have to follow up on that story and let you know.
I hope so too, because she deserves that. She deserves to be there with her team and actually be able to compete. I feel like that doesn't allow her to compete. I think that's even more important than the coach. So I don't know.
So we'll see what happens. I have to find out and see what they say. So what else do you have?
Okay, so I guess I can stick with the Olympics and then finish up with the NHL draft. But we were talking a little bit about skateboarding. So Yoto Horigamo, Yoto Horigamo won the Olympics first skateboarding gold medal on Sunday. He's 22 years old. He's from Japan. He scored a 37.18 points for the men's street final to win his name in the first history book, or in the first ever skateboarding. So he's based in Los Angeles, but there was his name's Nyjah Houston. He was the superstar gold medal favorite. And he was unable to put his tricks together and needed to finish, and he finished 7th, which was a little bit sad because he was the best and was supposed to take the gold for the United States. But there was another, so Jagger, okay, his name's Jagger, sorry. Jagger Easton, he got the bronze medal. So after his final 2 attempts, he didn't do very well in his final 2 attempts, but the ones before, he got enough points. So at least we got on the podium for that. So Naomi Osaka, we were talking about her, and last week, I think, Hattie, I think you were talking about her and about her taking herself out and kind of taking some time for herself because she was having anxiety.
Yes.
She actually lit the torch for the Olympics, and at the opening ceremonies. So she felt really proud to do that for her home, in her home country.
In her home country.
And she is now she beat China today, so she's moving on to the next level. She said she was nervous, and I think she was having a little bit of anxiety, but she feels honored that she got to light the flame and that she is there to participate, and she's always wanted to play for her home country. So that is good news on her account. I know you were talking about, I know you're talking.
Very good news. And we support the mental health movement. And when someone, I love, like I said, what Time magazine, when she was on the cover, and how they said it's okay not to be okay. That she knew that there were people who rallied around her, who love her and want to be there for her. And then I always say, when you can't be there for yourself, thank God you have somebody to be there for you. So I think that the world rallied around her, not just the tennis world, but the sports world. Because when she stepped down and put out there what it was, she got NBA players, NFL players, tennis players, track and field, but everyone rallied around her and say, "Hey, look, we support you. You take care of you." And sometimes you just wish that everyone dealing with something could hear that. We support you, we understand. So I'm glad that she was able to participate even in that, just lighting the torch in her home country.
Yeah. And I saw also that she had covers coming out on multiple magazines after she withdrew. And there were some attacks on her and saying like, oh, so why, if you were so worried about being and talking to the press, why were you on these covers? And she's like, I did these covers months ago. It's, these aren't just like pictures that I took yesterday. And she was like, I was already nervous about them coming out because I knew people were going to start saying exactly what you guys are saying, about me needing to take myself out of, in open, and because of not wanting to be in the spotlight in the press, talking to the press. And it's different. It's like, this happened months ago, and it doesn't just happen overnight. They don't take a picture and put it in, and you're not the cover.
You don't have it that quickly.
And
they already had them. The writing and the conversation may have just happened, but like she said, and that's the problem, I guess, with people. How dare you say anything about whatever she's doing? That's her business. If she doesn't want to play, they attempted to do that to Serena when she decided she wasn't going to participate. She's like, you know what? I've already won gold more than once. I've participated. I don't have to be there. And therefore, I'm going to let some of the newcomers get in there and go ahead and do it. And I commend her for that. But then someone goes, oh, well, who are you to just back out like that? And what's your problem? Who said she had one?
Yeah. And she was also saying she wanted, she also said it was like other people's turn, like passing the torch,
I agree.
And saying like, it's other people's turn, like let them go. And so it is a lot of pressure.
I'm sorry. And we talked about Coco. Coco ended up having to be removed because of COVID. I was like, oh man, she was one of the younger tennis players, and this was her Olympic moment. But she ended up not being able to play because of COVID.
Yeah, that was really sad last week when we were talking.
Real sad.
Rough. A little bit about the U.S. men's basketball team. We lost for the first time since 2004. and to France, 83-76. Some of our players came over late because of the NBA Finals, and but we have a really good squad this year, and we have Booker, who came over, Middleton, who came over late because of the finals. But they were also saying that this isn't 1992 anymore, or even 2008, because the talent has gotten better in multiple countries, and we need star talent, and we need people like Durant and Damian Lillard to step up. I know that they will, because they're amazing. But I hope so. But it was kind of like rough to see that they lost, but they're not out of it. They still have a time to get back. So I'm excited to watch them. They have such good talent this year, and it's gonna be great.
The dream team just ain't a dream no more. Is that what they're trying to say?
They're just saying that, like, we've won so many times, and that they're just saying that it's not 1992 or even 2008, as in the talent in other countries. They're
talent from around the world.
Yeah. And a lot of them play in the NBA. So, it's not just
Giannis.
Exactly.
He's from another country. He's not from America.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that. I like the fact that there's a lot more talent, because, of course, the NBA ruled basketball for so many years in the Olympics, and now it's just not like that anymore. Now there is other teams that are stepping up, and we talked earlier in the year on Ladies in the Locker Room about Africa. The continent of Africa starting their own professional basketball league in their country. So I'm also going to continue to look out for that and see how that works out. And of course, we've had so many players in the NFL, or I'm sorry, in the NBA from Africa. So I'm pretty sure there was so many that everybody couldn't come. And Africa's such a large continent. I'm pretty sure that they will be able to sustain an entire league throughout their continent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's going to be great.
Amazing. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. And back to your point, we had 16 gold medals for basketball out of 19 Olympics. So we did reign, like you were saying, for so long.
For many years.
We have really good talent, which I'm still excited, because I know you're going to talk about the NBA in a little bit, but I'm just excited to still see some of these players, because the season's over. So, you get to, it's kind of like a bonus this year.
Yes.
You get to still watch them.
Yeah. But now here's I want to say one more thing. My other thing about that is it gives some of these other players who may not have had an opportunity to go. The fact that some of the superstar players like the LeBron, and other players who've gone to several Olympics, and they did the same thing, just like Serena. It's like, I've gone, I've won a gold medal, I've won more than one. Now I'm just gonna stay back, let some of the younger players, let some of the newer players get an opportunity to go. So I think that's an awesome thing for the athletes to do. And like I said, these other players, I mean, they may not even have gotten a chance to go if people like LeBron didn't just take a back seat and say, you know what, been there, done that. I'm happy for some new guys. I want to give those guys a shot.
Yeah, and also like LeBron, like we were talking about earlier in the playoffs, is that the Lakers went to the finals last year and won, but they got a lot shorter time to rest than these other players. And so at that point, when they were again in another, finals, or another like a playoff game the next year, when they had very, very little time to recover from the year before. So I think that's another reason why, they want their rest period. They need their rest period this year, even if it means, passing the torch to these younger players, which is also good. I mean, I'm just saying, on top of needing the rest. So
Well,
be able to play next year.
there were a lot of people who say that that's what made the difference in the league this year, and that the multiple injuries came from that none of them had the time to recuperate and prepare their bodies for a whole full season after participating in the bubble. Of course, everybody didn't participate in the bubble, but the ones that did, again, they started up the season on time and having a shorter time to rest and relax and prepare for the next year. But it was also noted that that's a possibility why we had so many injuries this year.
There we had a lot on our team, for sure.
Yep.
That hopefully next year we won't have that, kind of really affected us big time this year, Lakers. So
Yep.
So I think just really quick, I'm gonna mention there's a U.S. Fencer. Her name's Lee Kiefer. She made history by winning gold last night or this morning. I watched it this morning. Okay, so it was last night for us.
Last night.
Yeah, she was 27 and she beat Russia in a match 15-13. It's the foil fencing, which is like the really, really thin blade. And it's so crazy to watch because they have these whole suits on that, like when you touch it, but it touches it. If you hit them in the right spot, that's how you get points. But there's like this big like pack on the back. You have like battery packs on the back, this whole thing. And it's just like before you have the video replay. So they have video replay. They have these armor or these vests on that are sensitive to the tip. You're just like, before that, how did you even really know who really got tapped or who got hit? Because it was just it's really crazy to watch, but it was great to see a U.S. woman win gold, and she is from, like I said, Kentucky, and it was great to see that. And I think I was going to mention volleyball. We indoor volleyball won last night, and I was kind of going to talk about a little bit how the U.S. women really needed to get there, because we're going to play like China, who has won multiple times. They need to get their middle going, and their setter needs to connect with their middle, which it takes years to develop that type of chemistry. But it's very important. Jordan Larson, I actually played against her when I was playing club volleyball junior Olympics growing up, and she's the team captain. She did really well, but they just need to start getting their middles going. I just wanted to mention that. And I think my last story has nothing to do with the Olympics, but it is about the NHL draft. So I think what I kind of just want to mention with that is there is a player named Logan Mailloux, and he was selected by the Montreal Canadiens. And the huge bombshell with this is that he renounced himself from the draft because last year he was playing in Sweden because of COVID, and he went over there at age 17, and he had a consensual sexual relationship with a woman, and but he took a picture and sent it to his teammates, and it kind of got distributed. And in Sweden, that is a very serious crime. He didn't spend any time in jail, but he did have to pay a large fine, and he did take himself out of the draft. You can't technically take yourself out of the draft. But he announced it. He said he didn't want to be drafted this year. He thinks he needed to work on himself. He needed to continue therapy. He needed to come back the following year. But with a bombshell is that the Montreal Canadiens, they drafted him in the first round, and he might have, talent-wise, he was like a first, but mostly second round, even without this draft pick. But the Montreal Canadiens, they picked him in the first round, and it was this huge thing. A lot of young women came out and said that they were huge Montreal fans, that they've been lifelong fans, but with this, not anymore, because they feel like he didn't have any consequences for his actions. $1 million like contract, first round is huge, obviously. And
so even though he took himself out, they drafted him anyway.
They drafted him anyway.
And so now the fans are angry at him.
The fans are angry. He was surprised, but they said that they were going to work with him to make this right. And he said he feels remorse. And they're saying since he was young, he was 17, he was stupid. But it was just this big kind of bombshell that it was kind of like, okay, so now you drafted him. How are you you're going to make it right with him? How are you going to make it right with the victim? And that has been kind of a question that's been circulating. How is that being, he essentially, besides the fine, the $1,000 fine, suffered no consequences for his actions. So that's where a lot of people were talking, women were talking especially, and saying that they don't know if they could support a team who did that.
Select a player like that. And well, it's not the player's fault that they selected him, but we'll see what happens. We'll keep watching and see what happens. I think that he took full responsibility when he attempted to remove himself. And as he said, to work on himself and to continue to get help. So I think he did what he was supposed to do. The team who decided to rally behind him, go ahead and, select him. Maybe at the same time, they'll still do the same thing. Still make sure that he gets the help that he needs.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know if too many people are excited to see that at this point, but we can only hope. Because there's no. What are you doing for the victim? All you're doing is helping.
Right. And then sometimes that's not true. Sometimes they do things for the victim, but if it's not publicized, but then a lot of people don't understand. Sometimes the victim don't want to be publicized.
Yeah.
So,
well, he didn't say her name or anything like that, but they're just saying that he did say, he said, I ruined her life. Like, basically, this is going to follow her for forever. There's nothing I can really do to take that back. But we will see. We'll see with his actions and what he does moving forward. Hopefully, this will deter other
players from doing stuff like that.
From doing something similar.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that, Lindsay. We're going to go to a commercial, and then we come back. I'm going to wrap it up for us for tonight.
Hello guys, my name is Gloria. I am an instructor at LA Fitness Atlantic Station. I teach Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and on Saturdays we hike. We go to a different location. Our classes are 5:45 at Atlantic Station. There's kickboxing, there's body work, there's power circuit, everything you can imagine. And then we hike. We hike Kennesaw, Stone Mountain, the Palisades. We go everywhere. Come out and join us. Find out what your mission is and have fun while you do it. You can find me on Facebook, Gloria Jackson, and I want you to have fun while you get fit. Come join me.
All right. So that's Miss Gloria Jackson. I actually had the opportunity to interview her this week, and she's going to be a guest on Ladies in the Locker Room. Her fitness program is the truth. As you can see, some of her moves that she was providing that day in her class. I tell anybody, if you think you're exercising, you think you're getting it done, I think you should just go get in one of her classes, and you'll know about midway through the class because she is so intense, and her name is Gloria Jackson, but she has the nickname of Sunshine because she's always has this big smile, and that's Miss Sunshine Jackson. But she's going to be guest on Ladies in the Locker Room, and she is a fitness guru. I mean, she is fitness almost 7 days a week. She teaches 5 days a week at LA Fitness, or is it 6 days a week? And then on Saturdays, they go hiking. So she's fitness all week long. And Miss Gloria Jackson, we look forward to, showing some more of your stuff on Ladies in the Locker Room. And we look forward to having you as a guest, Sunshine. All right. The next thing I have, of course, we know the NBA Finals has come and gone, and Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks won it all. I want to say, though, the NBA Finals didn't disappoint to me. I know that there were a lot of people, and myself as well, expected to see the Brooklyn Nets and the Lakers in the finals. But again, some of the things that we talked about earlier, as far as a lot of the injuries to some of these players that caused season injuries or months ending injuries to prevent them from winning. So now we have the Milwaukee Bucks, and let's not forget 16 years in the pro, 16 years in the NBA, and he finally made it to his first NBA finals. And it was this, like I said, it didn't, to me, it did not disappoint. They were playing and they played hard. At the end of the last game, we didn't know if it was going to go to a game 7 or it was going to end at game 6. But if you watch the game, you will see, I mean, blocking shots, alley ooping, I mean, just doing everything you want to see in the NBA finals. The worst thing I hate to see is a sweep. And this did not happen, even though the Milwaukee Bucks came back and won 4 in a row to take the whole thing. It wasn't an easy win. So we are, just want to say congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks. And I don't know about some of you, but NBA is coming on, but we're already thinking about next year. Anything you want to say about the NBA? I know
Yeah.
you didn't make it, and we already
Oh,
had
yeah.
a conversation about the bubble and how it affected a lot of the players and a lot of
Yeah.
teams, and it's a possibility that that's what happened. Of course, we lost LeBron to injury from your Lakers. We lost Trey Young on my side from Atlanta. We lost Kyrie to Brooklyn Nets. So we lost players and all the major teams who still competed. They
Yeah.
still went to the finals, but Milwaukee was able to take it all.
Yeah.
So
And you're like you
congratulations,
said, Chris Paul. Like
Chris.
it would
I
have been
can
good to see him, but win. But it was a great finals. Like
16 years in the NBA. This was his first big dance, but at least he got there. At least he got there, and he's got more commercials than anybody else. And I guess that's gonna be it for right now.
That's true though.
All right. My next thing is going to be Sha'Carri Richards. She's the Olympian everyone knew about that tested positive for the substance found in marijuana. She was suspended for 30 days originally. That was the suspension that she had. So during the process of waiting for that 30 days, she had came out. She spoke. She said she took full responsibility for her actions and all that. Then another story surfaced that I'm finding out now wasn't necessarily the true story. I found out that her team later on ousted her because she was in the women's 400 meter 4x4, and she was one of the runners. So it was told to me that her team ousted her because if she gets over there, and they test her again and she tested positive again, then the whole team would be disqualified. So the team decided they didn't want her to work. run with them. So I'm finding out that was not a true story. That the Olympic Committee ultimately totally suspended her from the games. Period.
Mhm.
Which to me is understandable. If you're telling someone that you had problems so bad and that's why you did drugs, they're not going to say, "Oh, okay, you better now. All right, come on, let's go run."
Yeah.
It's not. If anyone with any kind of sense is not going to see it that way. So whether they chose for her not to run to give her an opportunity to get herself better, because she said she was on. She said her words was she was under a lot of pressure, because her mother passed, her biological mother, I believe it was, the past. So she said she was under a lot of pressure. She had a lot of things going on in the family, so that's why. So I guess they felt like, okay, we want to make sure that you're really ready, and we don't think that 30 days suspension is going to really do that. So she's young. She's only 23. Maybe next year. Oh, I'm sorry, the next Olympics in the next 4 years. Now, she was deemed as one of the fastest women in the world. So pretty sure the American team needed her. And then also they were saying she was going to win her own, the races that she did by herself. But it didn't happen. We would love to have seen her, but I love to see that the world is rallying behind her. She's still doing commercials. She had gotten commercial sponsorships from some of the brands, and she's still doing the commercials. So now she does have to take responsibility and hopefully, get herself together. Like I said, that suspension would only have been 30 days, but then they went back and they elected to go ahead and totally remove her. And then we spoke earlier also about the Olympics and all the COVID that's in going on in the Olympic Village. We're going to wait and see and enjoy the game. And of course, we talked about the NBA already, and see how Booker and those guys who didn't make it over there, see how they fare in honoring our Olympic dream team's legacy,
Yeah.
and see what happens.
I want to say just really something really quick. It's kind of nice to like start be able to like root for players like Damian Lillard. I love him, but like he plays in Portland and
He's
Lakers,
not on
so
your
like
regular team.
he's not on my team. So it's kind of nice to have Team USA, so you get to
Yeah.
root for all those guys that you're like during the season, like, oh no,
I like
like
him, but I can't like him right now.
I know I like him. He's a great player, but I
But he's
can't like
killing
him.
my team.
I know,
Yeah.
right? So now they're all on our team. So I kind of like that.
You know what? I feel you on that one. The last thing I'm going to talk about is LeBron James. Of course, he brought back the movie. Wait,
Space
what's the
Jam.
name of it?
Space
Space
Jam.
Jam. So we had a debate, of course. There's some people that say, "Oh, he should have left the original alone." I am totally against it. I'm totally team LeBron, first of all. And as a filmmaker and a person who loves animation and cartoons, I am so glad he did that. The other thing is I have grandchildren, and there's so many other new creatures in the animation world going on. My grandchildren didn't even know who Bugs Bunny was. So I'm really glad that he brought it back and he redid it and he gave it a new world spin. We're in a different area. Now we got different things going on. So I'm glad he did. And
I like that.
apparently so is the world, because he closed out his opening week with $31 million. So that was just at the end of that week. It's more now because it's still going on.
Mhm.
I haven't had a chance to see it yet because I really want to sit down and watch it with my grandkids.
Mhm.
But I'm really, I want to say big up to LeBron. I'm glad that he did it over. And so far, everybody that I know that has seen it, they love it. So good job. I'm
Me and my
really
brother,
excited.
me and my brother had like the soundtrack, so we knew all those songs like when
Yes,
we were
yes.
growing up. So I'm glad
Yup,
that
yup.
hopefully some of those songs come back.
So-
I
and some
could
of the songs,
probably still sing them at this point.
exactly. Well, and that's cool, but I want to see some of the new songs. I want to see what they
Yeah.
picked in the new soundtrack too,
Yeah.
because
For
as you're saying, the soundtrack was a very important part of those movies. So I really want to see what he did. But
Yeah.
as I said, good job, LeBron. The world obviously is satisfied with you as well. His opening weekend came in at $31 million, so I think he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, I think he's doing pretty good too.
And look, during the COVID time at that.
Exactly, right? It's
Yeah,
even
it's
better.
even better. That's even better. Well, that's all I have. Like today we had a lot of the same things, and I chimed in on your conversation, and it was all good conversation. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Please don't
Yeah.
forget to follow us on IG, Ladies in the Locker Room, and also when you get a chance to watch us on YouTube, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Send us a message. Tell us what your thoughts are, and keep us. We want to keep Ladies in the Locker Room growing. Now, my last thing is, of course, a couple of weeks ago, I went to the WAB Sports Golf Tournament and fundraiser. I came up with 3 hours worth of fantastic footage, but I did not want to do a 3 hour movie. So I worked on it and I worked on it. I couldn't figure out how am I going to fix this. So basically, we're going to be hearing from the WAB Sports for the next couple of weeks because I broke it down into segments. So I'm going to do the premiere of the first one Monday night, tomorrow night, and then next week the different interviews that I had with the different players, because a lot of them have their own foundations and different organizations, different things going on. I'm gonna have a bunch of those that I'll be showing in the next couple of weeks. So I had to figure out how to take all of this great footage and then the not so great footage. We were outside playing golf, and it was a beautiful, breezy day, and that breeze caused me all kind of sound nightmares.
Yeah.
But Monday night will be my world premiere of the WAB Sports video. And thank you so much, Wayne Buckingham of WAB Sports. Thank you, Ross Browner and Jahardi. I mean, all the guys. Thank you all so much. You were wonderful. And as you guys will see as well, also Mr. Otis Nixon from the Atlanta Braves. You guys will see it well because for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be playing clips and video footage and different things. And big up to the kids, the youth golfers that played with those pros. When I tell you, those kids was hanging on in there, and some of the kids were like really, really good. So I'm excited to show you guys all of that. And please forgive my slow efforts because I meant well. I just didn't know what to do with 3 hours of great footage, but. Thank God he's blessed it upon my brain what I'm going to do. I'm breaking it down. So you're going to see little bits at a time so that you can see it all. That way I didn't have to cut it because at first I was like, I got to cut it, got to cut it. Now I am going to cut it, but you'll get to see bits and pieces for the next couple of weeks. All right.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Well, Lindsay, thank you so much tonight
Yeah.
for joining me on Ladies in the Locker Room. I really appreciate you. And always we have very, very great conversation, and I love that. We will be joined. I've interviewed some new ladies. I've got some new ladies coming on. One of them specifically, we call her name is Adrian. We call her Swagalicious, a swag girl. Adrian has a lot of swag. She's a lot of fun. And she's I want to say somewhat of a blogger, and she has sports on her blog. But Adrian is getting ready to get on board and sign on with us. So check out swaggirl.com and you'll find out who Adrian is. Very popular young lady, very beautiful young lady, and we're going to be looking forward to her joining us on Ladies in the Locker Room. Again, thank you, Lindsay, and we will see
Thank
you
you.
all next week. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, John.